Hi everyone, this is Howard. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't done so, remember to like, share, and subscribe. So this is our new series, Millennial Monday, where we'll be speaking to millennials about current issues. And today, joining us, we have John.
Hello.
Hey John, would you like to introduce a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, thanks, Howard. Yeah, so I'm John, one of the founders of German Educare. Basically, what we do is we help Malaysians, especially, to study and work in Germany. We offer different programs depending on where you currently are. So whether you have just finished your secondary school, or you have done your pre-U, or if you are working and wants to consider getting a job opportunity in Germany. So we help people such as yourself to actually go there.
Let's dive in deep into the topic of overseas education during the pandemic. So as you mentioned just now, the student size has shrunk in terms of students flying off to Germany in specific. And perhaps overseas in general would sort of shrink in size as well. Now the question is, how are students and parents' reception towards overseas education now that there is a pandemic going on?
Right. I think to answer this, you also have to understand some of the other things that's happening at the same time. So you're right. A lot of parents are very concerned about this situation, especially overseas in Europe and in America. They are struggling with a very high number of cases, right? So it's fair. But at the same time, the requirement to go to Germany is that, one, you complete your pre-U. And right now, students are struggling to complete that. Some of the exams are being postponed. Some of the exams are graded differently. So due to that, there is some, a small number of students didn't manage to further their studies at this point. They'll get to do so once they finish their pre-U, for example. There's a different group of students that's affected, and those are the students that the universities are conducting classes online. For those students, in most other countries as well, if your courses are fully online, then the visa will not be issued for you now. It's only when classes can resume, then you'll get a visa to fly over. So again, while parents are concerned, and I think some actually choose not to further their studies to Germany, some choose to study locally, the numbers of those are actually less than we imagine. So initially when this happened, we were quite concerned as well. We think that many students will actually drop off. That is not quite the case. There's a few students that drop off, yes. And in terms of university enrollment in Germany, the drop is 20%. And like I said, although 20% is significant, it is not as bad as we think it is. And also because some of the students that are offered a place in Germany, they can't fly over yet, as the classes are 100% online.
With this pandemic, a lot of things has changed. Of course, it has sort of speed up the industry revolution as well. Everything is going digital, right? Everything is on technology right now. So with that, does that sort of diminish the importance of institutional education, where people go to a physical building to have their education? Does that affect that now that, as you mentioned, there is online studies where people can just, open their laptop and be in the classroom?
In my opinion, right, I don't think the pandemic changed the opinion of how people view institution of higher education. So I would like to think that if I'm a student and I do want to further my studies to the bachelor's or master's degree, and if I want to do so overseas, I will definitely still go there. Having to learn online, the experience is just not the same. If I want to study overseas, it's not about attending very good lectures. I mean, of course, that's a requirement, right? Otherwise, there's no point of me enrolling to a university. But it is the people that I meet. It is the places that I can explore. It is the different cultures that I can get to experience. This whole package can never be replaced by online learning.
As you mentioned just now, a lot of people, let's not talk about these times, but in usual times, everyone looks forward to go abroad and study. I'm guilty of that myself. I've always wanted to go overseas to study. Sadly, I wasn't given the opportunity. Nevertheless, saying about that, a lot of people wanting to go overseas to study because of the exposure of culture, the exposure of new sites, new experience. Right now, of course, that is limited. How does then student process whether they wish to go overseas to study or not?
We can only hope, right, at some point, they will be able to at least experience something new nevertheless. I believe right now around the world, even if they are in a different country, they're actually spending a lot of their time indoors. So Germany included, where many of the lectures are actually conducted online. So while they are actually in Germany, they are not in the campus. But that does not mean that the experience is not there at all, because they still go out. At the very least, they need to do their shopping. They get to meet some of their friends from time to time. So same like us, where we have our own SOP. Different countries have their own SOP, but life goes on, and you're not 100% stuck in your room. So I would say you will have some sort of experience. It won't be as fun as other students before the pandemic. That I have to admit. But I would say you will still get some experience if you're overseas right now. But if you're considering of going overseas, I would say yes, that is actually a very, very tough thing, and things are likely going to normalize at some point. Then it's actually not a bad idea. Otherwise, it's also not bad to take a gap year. Take a year, especially if you are unsure whether this is the correct pathway for you. Take a year just to explore something else. I'll say do the best out of this current situation. Oftentimes, before the pandemic, students rush things through. After secondary school, they straight away enroll to the pre-U, and then straight away they go off to the university. And what happens is that 5 years into their first job or as they started working, they suddenly start thinking, maybe this is not their calling, maybe they should have done something different. So right now, maybe it's the time to think. It's okay to actually delay going to university for a little bit. For our students, so that's a different topic, and also because we are niche, right? We do have a 1 year preparation time. All our students are forced to take a gap year, so to say. It's because they have to learn a new language. So that might actually be something else. If you want to explore in Germany, you will take 1 year to learn German. So in that sense, it gives you more time, especially now where people are still trying to figure out how to solve this pandemic. You can take this time to actually learn a new language. But if you do not want to go to Germany, maybe you can use the same 1 year to pick up some other skills, or other different languages. You can take this 1 year to learn Mandarin or Japanese, and then once the pandemic is over, you have more options. You have the option to go to a different country, or even if it's not to study there, additional language is always good, this for example.
Now, another question that really, really interests me is that parents' point of view, financially, are parents still invested in their children's education, where they are willing to pay a hefty amount for them to go overseas? And also, especially as you mentioned, now that they go overseas, they might not have the full experience, so they're probably paying them to go overseas, to go to the local supermarket to buy things and then go back into their room. So yeah, are parents still invested in their children's education, where they are willing to send them abroad?
During the pandemic right now, it's too soon to tell anything, right? And there's not enough data to see how the pandemic affected admission to the university. But for the past 5 years prior to this, international students or even Malaysian students going to the major countries like Australia, UK, has been increasing actually. So it's also interesting to know that the tuition fees over the past 5 years have actually been increasing, but at the same time, enrollment has been increasing as well. So it shows that generally, especially in Malaysia, parents do think that education is very, very important, and they try their best to set aside money to send their children overseas. So I would say there are two types of parents. There are one type that are very, very concerned, to the point that they decide to send their children to study locally, or at least nearer to them. So, but we found that, or at least among our students, there's actually very, very few. The bigger group of parents are actually the parents that are still okay with sending their children overseas, but these are the parents that are, how do I say? So previously, they just go overseas and they let their children have the experience, and they maybe call their kids, every week or so. But now parents are more part of the journey, right? Even before the children are in Germany, they come and talk to us. Sometimes the same topic for 2-3 times. What can they do to stay safe, or what are the different requirements that's needed, so that they can board the flight to Germany. So parents are a lot more active, I would say, nowadays compared to previously. They're still concerned, but what we found is that they still want to have their children study overseas. It's just that they are now very, very active to figure out what's actually happening in every single part of the journey.
Oh, that's great. Good job, parents. Pat in the back. Well, thank you so much, John, for sharing your experience and your stories with us. It's been such a great chat together with you.
Yeah, likewise.
And thank you all so much for watching this. If you haven't done so, remember to, again, please like, share, and subscribe to our page and channel. And with that, we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.